So welcome back to another episode of Amplified Hustle, the platform that is dedicated in providing you inspiring and valuable stories. Now, if you're new to this channel, don't forget to subscribe and smash that like button. Now, today I have a very special guest with me, a man with many skills, actor, writer, property investor. So yeah, Irfan, thank you for coming on to the podcast. I really appreciate it, my brother.
Thank you for inviting me, Maz.
Let's start it from the beginning, where you grew up. Let's talk about that and what inspired you to become a writer and a actor.
Well, Maz, my background was not your usual kind of background, and I'll explain why. My story always begins with my father, because number one, I've always followed him as an inspiration and as a role model. He was the very first black or Asian Lord Mayor in the country in 1985.
Wow.
He was a politician.
Go back to that statement again.
He was the very first black Asian Lord Mayor of a city in the UK.
Wow.
So that was very groundbreaking. He was a humble man. He came from a village in Pakistan.
Yeah.
His father was a farmer, but he had a vision what he wanted to achieve, and he came to this country, which was documented on the BBC, with very little money in his pocket. And went on to become, as he was referred to as, the first citizen of a major UK city. So to have somebody to look up to,
Yeah.
that for me, it showed that anything is possible in life.
Yeah.
As long as you put your hard work into it, you put your time into it, anything is possible. So I seeing him at a very young age, when I was 11, he became the Lord Mayor. I saw the attention that he got, the cameras flashing in his face, documented on television, on newspapers, and it appealed to me. This kind of fame and stardom, that with that it brings respect. Alhamdulillah, even today he's got that respect, and that was really the foundation for what I wanted to achieve. I didn't know what I wanted to achieve, but I wanted to be involved with something where a bit of fame and a bit of celebrity kind of life was involved.
Would you say that was the reason that inspired you to go into the writing world, so to speak, and acting world? Or
Do you know, there's that saying that sometimes if you're in the right place at the right time. See, my intention was not to get into the film kind of business, if you like. It actually happened totally by accident. I went to Manchester University. I studied out there, came back to Bradford, and as a poor, struggling student, you look for part-time jobs, and hence I applied for a job at the then National Museum of Photography, Film and Television, and they had a very strong element of film at the venue, and I liked the venue because it had the big IMAX screen. It was a kind of grandeur kind of building. It was very appealing. So I went there to apply for a ticket sales. So I was selling tickets, and the person that I am, I got to talk to the management, etc. And I've grown up watching Hindi cinema purely on the basis that my parents used to watch it. So on a Saturday night, probably showing my age now, but on a Saturday night in the 80s, you hire out a VHS. Yeah. Your younger viewers would probably not even know what a VHS is, but the old video,
video
so,
tables.
Family members, they all used to gather into the main house, and we used to watch these old Amitabh Bachchan movies. I became a big fan of his, the kind of genre of cinema. Very much kind of like the songs, the action. They had every human emotion packed in 3 hours, and I found it very, very appealing. So, going back to the National Museum of Photography, I sensed that Hindi cinema was slowly making its way into the mainstream. So you got to remember at that point, the chains like the Odeons and the Cineworlds, they weren't showing no Hindi cinema. It was purely Hollywood. And I had a word with the management, and I sensed that there was a market, because I knew of the distribution companies like Eros International, Yash Raj Films that were based in London, and they were looking for venues to show these movies because they sense that there is a growing market. And I had a word with the management, and they put me on as a trial period to get 1 or 2 movies, work out a business deal with these distributors. And the first film we put on, it was packed. And, you know, the management they were shocked that we weren't even getting these numbers when it was the Hollywood movies. And, you know,
Especially in Bradford as well. 'Cause
especially in Bradford. And that's when what initially started off as a very kind of temporary job, just to fund my, I don't know, Nike Air Jordans or whatever I wanted to buy. It became more of a kind of permanent thing. And that's where my my love affair with world cinema started, basically.
Right, okay. And then from there, how did you get your foot through the door in the Bollywood industry?
You know, I often reminisce about the time that I spent with the Indian film industry. I spent 10 years, a good part of a decade. They organised, the National Media Museum organised a film festival called Bite the Mango. And Bite the Mango was very much a celebration of world cinema. So you're looking at Far Eastern cinema, you're looking at Black Asian cinema. And the director at that time, he left and went to the British Film Institute. So they were looking for somebody to fill in that position. But obviously I had no experience. I had no links with the Indian film industry as well. So it was all basically from scratch I had to start. The internet was just coming into, you know, everyday lives then. And just by luck, I managed to find a contact number of a filmmaker called Mahesh Bhatt. Now, Mahesh Bhatt is like a maverick filmmaker in India, still going, but he's an A-lister. And I thought, maybe it's a random number, who knows, just try it. So I tried this number, and yes, Mahesh Bhatt answered, to my surprise, introduced myself. And next thing you know, he's on a plane coming to Bradford.
What did you say to him, though?
I just sold not only the film festival, I felt it was important to sell me as a person that he can trust.
Must have been a really good salesperson.
Well, I was 23 years old at the time.
Yeah.
And I was speaking to this filmmaker. I remember coming home and telling my mum and dad, like an excited school kid, you can't believe who I spoke to, it's Mahesh Bhatt, etc., etc. So Mahesh Bhatt came to the film festival in 1998, and he opened the doors for all of Bollywood. So if I said to him, he recently made a film with Shah Rukh Khan called Duplicate. 98, he came to Bradford. The following year, he invited me to Mumbai.
Right.
So the first time I went to Mumbai was 1999. Parents were a bit hesitant. You know, India, Pakistan, the history. Me on my own, going to India, I was getting people in the community saying, oh, you know, they're going to kidnap you and this and that if you find out you're a Pakistani. You know, that was the mentality of some people. Yeah. But I did not allow that to deter me. I just wanted to go there and experience the country, and it was a beautiful country. Went there to India. Mahesh Bhatt, I'd like to see Shah Rukh Khan. I'd like to see other A-list actors who he has worked with or who he knows in the industry. And in front of me, he made a quick phone call to Shah Rukh saying, I've got a friend here from Bradford, from UK. And say Shah Rukh, asking him, where's Bradford? I've never heard of Bradford. But that was the point. I wanted to make these people aware of Bradford by me going there, selling the film festival, selling the city.
I can imagine it must have been overwhelming for you. Like, you met this guy, big A-lister in the Bollywood scene, and next minute he's there introducing you to Shah Rukh Khan.
Do you know, it wasn't overwhelming, to be honest with you, Maz. I just felt it was very natural to me. I mean, initially when I did meet Shah Rukh at his home in Bombay, it was overwhelming. Obviously, you've been seeing these people on screen for so many years, playing these different characters. You know how famous they are, how powerful they are. But you meet them on a one-to-one basis. They're no different to you and I.
Yeah.
That's what I found most interesting, was how humble a lot of these people are. We have this misconception or preconception of how people are going to be, but when you meet them in real life, they're human like us. They've got a head, they've got two hands, they've got legs, etc. You know. So yeah, Shah Rukh, Amitabh. I went to his home in Mumbai, which was a rarity. I heard that he doesn't really allow many people into his home. But me as a 22-year-old, 23-year-old Bradford lad, I ended up 4 hours in his house, and that was a real kind of pinch myself moment. How on earth have I achieved this?
For our viewers, just share who is Amitabh.
Amitabh Bachchan is a legendary.
Amitabh Bachchan. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, he's a living legend. He was voted BBC Millennium Star of the Millennium. Appeared in over a ridiculous amount of movies. Still going strong.
Just when you said Amitabh, I was like, oh.
Well, Amitabh, one of my friends. So yeah, I mean, you know, a lot of people I met in the industry, I was blessed. I was lucky. You know, for me, it was an experience. These experiences kind of grew me as a person, because you're talking to people with a different intellect, a different mindset. They've travelled the world. You know, it was truly a remarkable experience at that time.
So when you met these people, is that when your acting career started? Is that when you started doing the screenplays and started auditioning? Or
when I actually met these actors, it was on the capacity of inviting them to my film festival, which was really growing. And I think it really took it to a different pedestal when I invited Amitabh Bachchan to Bradford. That was a major accomplishment that I felt was the one that really set my film festival on a different platform to other world cinema festivals in the UK, because you know there is no star bigger than Amitabh.
And for him to, did Kabhi come out before then, the famous Indian movie, or after?
He was actually shooting that film when he came.
Was he? Oh, okay.
He was actually shooting that film, and I remember in the cinema he was interviewed by one of my friends called Dr. Rachel Dwyer, who's a lecturer at London University, and she asked him. Packed house, 350 people, and she said, out of all the places, you know, you are Amitabh Bachchan, why have you come to Bradford? You could have gone to New York, you could have gone Cannes Film Festival. He looked at me right in the eye in front of everyone and he pointed and he said, because of Irfan. Because of Irfan, he was very consistent with his what did he say? I was badgering him a lot, but I didn't care whether I was badgering him or not. My aim was to get him to Bradford.
Yeah, but you know what, bro? Resilience always pays off, and consistency. You know, so fair play, man.
It does. So that was a major accomplishment. And then other people, again, another legend who sadly passed away a year or two ago, called Dilip Kumar. For the older generation, they will know him as, you know, he was the Mr. Indian cinema. Invited him to Bradford again for the first time. Anil Kapoor, Amir Khan, Om Puri, the late Om Puri, he came 2-3 times. Yash Chopra, basically anybody who was anyone in the Indian film industry came to Bradford and came to my film festival.
Once you did that film festival, take it from there, your journey and how it spiraled.
We were talking earlier on about life, and you have to keep life interesting. Yeah. You know, you got to have different flavour masala in there and what have you. Otherwise, it becomes a bit monotonous. So there came a point in the film festival where I felt, you know, I've achieved everything. I've brought every film star to Bradford. I've visited Mumbai 10 times at that point, more than I'd been to Pakistan, to be honest with you. Yeah. And I felt I've seen it all. I needed something else. So I took a sabbatical from my job and packed a rucksack and jet off to Bombay for 5 months. And there I enrolled in an acting school called Actor Prepares, which was run by a very famous Indian actor called Anupam Kher. Right. Enrolled in there, stayed out there in Mumbai for that amount of time. But during that time, something changed. I saw the film industry for what it actually was, whereas before I was an outsider looking inside. Now I was an insider looking more inside into the film industry.
When you say what it was, share that with us.
You know, we see these movies on screen and it looks all glamorous and, you know, hunky-dory and everyone's smiling but behind the scenes it's a totally different story. I saw different sides to... I saw... How can I put this? I witnessed casting couches. I witnessed people that were compromised to do things to get into movies that they shouldn't really have to do.
I think you can read between the lines.
Yeah, you can read between the lines. And to be there for 4 months and see this, I said to myself, I was newly married at the time. I had a baby daughter who was 3 months old. I had a good look in the mirror and I thought, do you really want to be a part of this? And I think it was good in the sense that I went there, because if I didn't, I think I would have probably continued to work with the film industry and it's hard to put this. It's very alluring. Is the Indian film industry if you're not familiar with what's going on inside, and I think I needed that as an eye opener to push me a bit back and maybe look at different things to do. So I came back to the UK, and I thought I need to try something else in life now, because it's not really my cup of tea, which I thought it probably might have been.
Yeah, no, fair enough. I just want to touch on the going back to what you said about the when you went into the acting course. What was that like?
The acting course it was at a school called Actor Prepared, which Anupam Kher just recently launched at the time. One actress who went to his school the year before I went was an actress who's very much one of the best, one of the most famous actresses in India at the moment, called Deepika Padukone. She starred in a couple of Shah Rukh movies and various other movies. It was an amazing experience. There were people from all around the world. There was students from Australia, from New York, then local Mumbai, Bangalore. Majority were Indian, Hindus, Sikhs, and they gave me so much love. You know, even though they knew I was from England, I was a Pakistani. Yeah. A lot of them actually thought I was from Punjab. You know, because I'm a 6'2" guy, and usually Punjabis are, you know, kind of fairly tall, imposing men. But the experience there was phenomenal. I experienced Holi in Mumbai. Diwali, you know, it was all the traditions, and it was very similar to Pakistan in the sense. You know, I think the politicians tried to make out the differences, but the actual people there, you speak to the people, they have so much love for Pakistanis, and it's a shame that, you know, we're so hell-bent on our differences rather than concentrating on the ones that make us one and unite us, and the common factors that we have. But yeah, it was lovely. I had a lot of love, and I've still got the friends that when I studied out there, we still keep in contact. Some are still as part of the film industry. But you know, these are memories that will stay with me until my last breath. Yeah. I've always wanted to try different things in life. When the society or individuals say you haven't got a chance, there's no way you're going to do this. How are you going to know until you try it?
Exactly, yeah.
How are you going to know? Everyone fails in life. You know, I'm a big fan of Michael Jordan, and he said, you know, everyone looks at the points that I've scored. Look at how many points I've missed. People don't look at the failures, they just look at the wins. So you have to try different things in life. You know, society will say to you, no, don't. But, you know, if you feel it in your heart and you've got that perseverance, you've got a dream, you've got a vision, you go for it. And what's the worst? It's not going to happen. Fine, you change your goalpost, you go for something else.
Was your family really supportive during that journey, and as you were going through, like, especially coming from an Asian background, going into that industry, travelling to India, etc.?
I think my mother was a bit hesitant. My father was fine. You know, he's going to do what he's going to do. So, as you know, he said, as long as you give it your 100%. But their minds did change when, you know. I was talking about Dilip Kumar. My parents, big fans of his. You know, like today's generation, they've got Shah Rukh. In them days, it was Dilip Kumar. So I remember the day when I brought Dilip Kumar to my house in Bradford. It it wasn't the fact that I bought Dilip Kumar to my house. It was when I saw my mum and dad's face when I bought this actor to their home. They were like little kids. The smile on their face, the pride that our son has brought this actor to our house. Yeah. That's when they said, okay, fine, you do what you're going to do. I think I won them over with that.
Yeah, so Irfan, what was life like when you came back from India?
You know, that was probably the most challenging time of my life. I came back from India, I had no job. I had a young family, I had a young daughter. I didn't know what I wanted to do. One thing I knew that is I'm not going to go back to the film industry business because of my kind of experiences out in India. So that was for me then really restarting, from scratch, building my way up. But I never lost heart. Because I've always been one of these people that doesn't look at the negative, always looks at the positive.
100%. I mean, if you have a positive mindset, you're going to look at everything in a positive way, but when you go into something with a negative mindset, you're going to start looking for the negatives immediately, aren't you?
Absolutely. 100%. And to be fair and give credit where it's due, I think I would not have got through that phase of my life without my wife, because she was very, very positive. Very religious woman, has a lot of faith. At that point I didn't, so she supported me, and just like little bricks, little baby steps, started getting into the property business, and 15 years later, alhamdulillah.
Yeah, so Irfan, what advice would you give to those people that wish to chase their dreams based on your experience?
Go for it. Very simple, just go for it. You've got the advantage now of social media, which has kind of opened up the world a lot more to what I had. There are a lot more opportunities now. Our society, our culture has progressed. We're a bit more liberal now in our views. Things are not frowned upon as they once were. Not as much, maybe they still are, but not as much. But I think if you deeply have a passion, you have a goal, and it has to be calculated. You have to have a plan, because not everything is hunky-dory in life. Like I mentioned earlier, you will have failures. Sometimes you have to change the goalpost in your life and move on to other things. But if you truly do believe in something and you feel as though you've got the talent, you have the vision, you have the passion, nothing should really stop you. And can I also add is it's very important to have a very open conversation with your parents. I think that plays a major factor. Your parents will support you if you have this open dialogue with them, be transparent in what you want to do. I think that's where a lot of kids fail, is where they don't have that communication with the parents. For me, that's a very important factor. But yeah, you only have one shot in life. Go for it.
100%, man. Honestly, your story is inspiring. When I Googled your name on Google as well, I seen your name popped up on IMDb, and
I did a screenplay.
Yeah, did a screenplay as well, and there was the movie. Is it Life of?
It was called Lies We Tell.
Lies We Tell, and I seen. I was impressed. I looked at it. I was like, wow, because the actor was it Harvey Keitel, yeah, and he's in. If anybody hasn't seen, he's in Pulp Fiction, Reservoir Dogs as well. He's even in The Irishman as well. But yeah, that must have been amazing. What was that experience like working with him, and especially writing the screenplay for that movie as well?
It was amazing. I mean, not only Harvey Keitel, I also worked in the same film with another actor called Gabriel Byrne. Gabriel Byrne has worked with Arnold Schwarzenegger. He was Gabriel Byrne. If people that don't know, he was in a film called The Usual Suspects.
Oh, okay. Is he the?
He's the
guy with the cripple.
No, he's not the cripple. But if anybody's there, you can Google him. Yeah, he's also a major player. So yeah, working with Hollywood, working with Bollywood, even now, I think, I'm truly blessed with these experiences. I went to film festivals around the world. I went to the Cannes Film Festival. I went to Tribeca in New York, Mumbai International Film Festival, traveled the world, met amazing people. And, this stage in my life, I don't know what's going to happen next. But so far, it's been exciting, and I'm sure there's going to be more and more exciting things to come.
Yeah. So what is it that you do now?
Now I've got a property portfolio, but there's so much left in the tank, Maz.
Yeah.
I'm not done yet. I'm not a done deal yet. I'm sure something will happen, something exciting.
Definitely.
So for the viewers out there, watch this space.
So, Irfan, so talk to us about the challenges that you faced through your journey in life, through the world of acting, Bollywood, writing, screenplay, going into property, and anything that you can share with our viewers.
Do you know, Maz?
The setbacks, the critics.
I've always had this huge shadow over me, and that's been the shadow of my father, because he was so successful in his field as a politician. As the first Lord Mayor, he went on to get his CBE from the Queen, which I went to Buckingham Palace, and I met the now King. Wow. So that was an amazing experience. So with me coming from a Pakistani family, I'm the only son. I've got 3 sisters. So the expectations of somebody who's achieved so much in life with my father, society will then, living in Bradford all my life, I've always felt as though there's been a constant magnifying glass over me. Because people are very interested in what the son of Mohammed Ajeeb is going to do. At first, I saw that as a hindrance. The pressure was too much, and I kind of rebelled a lot against society and what have you, because I felt it wasn't fair. I felt as though it was very claustrophobic. Whatever I choose in life, is people are going to question it.
Especially with your father's status as well, like in politics and stuff like that.
So the typical Pakistani thing, yes, going to become a doctor, become a lawyer, the kind of so-called respectable things. But I've never really been since childhood very academic, in the sense, yes, I did the studies and what have you, but I was more of a practical person. I wanted to go into a field where I could express my emotions, and that was unheard of back in the days. What are you on about? You should be going into, like my sister, she's a solicitor, she's a counsellor. Other sister, she's a teacher. The so-called conventional jobs that Pakistanis are supposed to go in. So me being the only son, he either a politician or going to something like that. I said no. I want to express who I am. And the community, I'll be honest with you, initially, you do have people that are negative. But I thought to myself, well, my father, he's also had this all his life. At a very young age, we had our house petrol bombed by the National Front. We had our house bricked on a regular basis. My dad had 3 bin liners full of hate mail. Death threats from the National Front in them days. Yeah. They were going to do this to my mother, they were going to do this to etc, etc. So I've always lived with this factor that I've seen people that have tried to knock my dad off his pedestal from a very young age, and he persevered and he came through that, and he overcame all his distractors, his haters, because he believed in what he stood for. And that's the mentality that I took when I went into the film industry. It makes you stronger. Don't let that make you weaker. Use it as fuel. The negativity, turn it into a positive. Prove people wrong. That's all you can do. If that's their mindset, you cannot change their mindset. All you can change is you continue doing your actions, and eventually people will change their mindset. So it's never been easy. I mean, even to this day, I still have that shadow of my father. Yeah. But I'm used to it now. Rather than seeing it as a hindrance, I now see it as a positive. And alhamdulillah, everything's good. And yeah, just continue what you're doing. Like I said, there's there's no Irfan Ajeeb without Mohammed Ajeeb, who's obviously my father. And the prime example of that was when I returned from India. I provisionally signed to do a movie, which was based on the unfortunate events of the London Underground bombings, where the three lads from Leeds were in the news. So the Yorkshire Post got hold of the story. They phoned me up, and they were asking me. They didn't mention anything about my father, to be honest with you. They were just talking about what was it like being out in India, potentially signing up for this movie. So I gave them my little piece. But to my, I won't say shock horror, but to my, I'd say, disappointment. But these are newspapers. They sensationalise everything. The headline that they gave I think it was the front page as well, is that Lord Mayor's son to play suicide bomber. Yeah, yeah, that was. I felt a bit, but it's going back to the point that it's that shadow, isn't it?
Yeah,
the shadow will always be there. Yeah, it will always be there, whether it's positive, whether it's negative. But fine, it got me publicity, and it wasn't negative. It was, my dad was a bit struck by it first, but then I explained what the article was, so he was fine by that. But yeah, it's just one of them things. As the only son of a man of his stature, I've just got to be very, very careful with every step I take. But alhamdulillah, to this day, I've not taken a wrong step, and
alhamdulillah.
Yeah, alhamdulillah.
And for our viewers out there, I'm gonna put a link in the description below in regarding Irfan's story. There's an article on Telegraph and Argus as well, talk about his background, his upbringing, and how he went into the industry of acting. So Irfan, talk to us about what skills you learnt from the acting life and being a writer, and how you apply that in your personal life.
The skills are something that you continue to learn throughout your life. There's never a cut-off date for learning new skills. I mean, what it did teach me, it opened up my mind. I was a lad from Bradford. That's all I saw at the very early stages of my life. I didn't know a world existed outside Bradford. And then all of a sudden, I go and I meet these people with a totally different mindset. Opened up my mind, opened up my way of thinking. It taught me treat people well, be honest with people, try to be sincere, but most importantly, be humble.
Yeah.
That's what my father's always taught me. But going out to India, mentors such as Mahesh Bhatt, spending time with Mr. Amitabh Bachchan, Dilip Kumar, these were people that have lived a very eventful, long life. They've experienced time with different people from different walks of life. And, for somebody like Dilip Kumar to sit down with me and give me advice about life, I was truly blessed. But I just think the key component is to be humble, to be sincere. And, if you believe in the Almighty and you have your vision, you have your dream, things will happen.
Yeah, no, 100% to that. If you like this episode, don't forget to subscribe and stay tuned for more content. But other than that, Irfan, thank you for coming. Peace. See you in the next episode.